What are you hoping to find out from this survey?
Well, really, with a survey, one of the things you don't know is what you are going to find out, and that's the beauty of a survey. You have preconceived ideas sometimes on what the community might need and what the community thinks about a whole range of issues. But when you survey them, every survey that I've looked at in the past when we've done these previously, I've always found different things, different angles, different approaches, and just different ideas from people. So that's the exciting part about a survey is you get to hear from the community and you get to change potentially the way you do things from the community's input into the decisions going forward with council.
Yeah, and can you tell me a bit about how you're going about contacting everyone, what they can expect?
Yeah, so in the old days when we used to run these surveys, they were always done by landline. So we'd ring landlines, or we wouldn't. The survey company would ring landlines. But of course, many people are disconnecting landlines now, and landlines are probably narrowing it down to the demographic of who you might be able to get. So we've now gone and we've said to the researchers, Taverner Research is the company we're using, we've now said we really want you to use a mix of mobile phone and landlines to get that information. So they'll ring 600 residents throughout the period that we're starting the surveys. That'll go over a 2-week period. And they'll probably be around about 60% of those will be mobile phones, about 40% landlines. And part of the question process that they go through, part of the criteria is they ask the age bracket that someone might be in to make sure we get a good mix of ages. They ask the sex to make sure we're getting a good mix of sexes. So we really try and get a good cross-section of the community. On top of that, people can also go and do a survey online themselves. So they can choose to do the survey. In any statistical analysis of surveys, obviously having a random selection of people is better than people who self-select. So those 600 surveys that we'll do will be the main body of the survey, but we still encourage people to go and fill in the survey so that we can look at the ideas that are coming from anyone who wants to be involved.
And what sort of areas is this going to give a feedback on and hopefully inform? Is this sort of housing, community spaces and playgrounds, and what sort of areas could this shape?
Yes to all of the above. The idea is that we do ask a range of questions. It probably takes about 15 minutes to do the survey. So there's a whole range of topics that are investigated, and every facet, every angle, every part of council will be touched on as part of this survey. It can be simple things like, what do you think of the quality of the drinking water? It can be much deeper, more complicated things about, what do you see as the vision for Dubbo? Where do you see Dubbo headed? What other ideas have you got for the community as a whole? So there's a whole range of different areas that are surveyed. One of the things that I found really interesting in past surveys has been, how do you find out your information about council? Now, when we go back to the early surveys when I was on council a long time ago, then some of those surveys really relied on, for example, the newspaper and the radio. But it's no surprise that as we've gone forward, people are getting their news, their information in different ways. So obviously social media, websites, these are different ways that people are getting their information now, as well as still radio and newspaper and TV. But that mix has changed fairly dramatically over the years. Without that information, we wouldn't know the best way to communicate with our residents, but that information helps inform us so that we do communicate with residents in the ways that they like to be communicated in. The most important thing is that there are a lot of scammers out there, and people get lots of phone calls from people they think are scammers. The reason we're talking about this and talking to you in the media about the fact that this survey is happening is so that if someone does get a phone call over the next 2 weeks and it's from council, hopefully it's not a scammer that's decided to target council surveys, but it is something that probably is legitimate. If you do get a survey from Taverner Research to talk about this survey for council, it probably is a legitimate survey. Having said that, if they start asking you to deposit money into a bank account or start asking for details about your bank account or finances, then probably it still is a scam. But a lot of people hang up on these surveys. I'd really encourage residents, if they get this survey, to go through and really get that chance to give feedback to council.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Thanks so much for that.